Well, to start with, thank you all for coming. Our talk today is really an introduction to Capture the Flag. It's something which I really wish I could have played and participated in when I was a lot younger. You didn't used to have all of this. Breaking into computers was done literally by just breaking into a computer. So really, CTF is a new medium we want to talk about. And this talk is really designed to give people an insight into how to approach CTFs, how to start CTFs, who they're for, etc. So to start with, we're going to go through who we are. My name's Dan Card. I'm the owner of Red Service. I run the Home Defend games, which are participating at the minute in Leeds. I'm an IT and technology and security consultant. I've been in the industry for about 20 years. I come from a support and design background, and I moved into offensive security plus design space. So I help organisations, and I get to fire some pew-pews at them to try and help them understand that their financial models and resources probably aren't aligned very well to protecting their business assets.
Yeah, so I'm Matt Haynes. To be fair, obviously Dan giving a quick intro into himself probably doesn't really do him justice. He gives a lot back to the community, so if you don't follow him on Twitter, I think probably a lot of people in the room do. If you don't, do it. He's always posting things that are really helpful, so that's something I want to add. So I'm Matt Haynes. I've been in the industry, like Dan, about 15 odd years, so cumulatively 30 odd years we've got to sort of give back. And that's a big thing that we want to do. We want to try and give back to the community as much as possible, and that's really what all B-Sides is all about. And throughout 2019, I've been doing that through a workshop called WTF is CTI. So I have an architecture background and a threat intelligence background. Alongside my 15 odd years in cyber, I've worked as a military intelligence operator for about 6 years. So I have a purist intel aspect, and I've been able to fuse those two over the last 6 years. So the workshop has kind of been introducing people to CTI, and Dan, he's been obviously working with doing the Pwn Defend activities at some of the B-Sides in 2019, and over a beer, we decided to basically give this intro into CTF. So I'm not a red team. I'm not a hacker. So for me, it's quite new to me, and over the last 6 months, I've sort of started my journey to learn that skill set. And Dan, the Pwn Defend guys, have really helped me a lot. So I wanted to think that's a good option for a lot of people to get involved in. So let's talk about WTF is CTI. So cyber CTF. Rehash it.
You need really good intelligence to understand that, right?
Yeah. So capture the flag. Okay, so capture the flag. What is it? Effectively, it's a game. And it's a game that's there for a number of different reasons. So it can be used for competitions. Sometimes it's used for actually part of the interview process. But ultimately, what it's there for is to actually have fun. It's to have fun and to learn and to actually progress in that skill set. You don't have to go down the red teaming side of things to actually get involved in CTFs. It can absolutely be part of the blue team side of things as well. And if you don't know what I mean by blue team, I mean the defense side of things, maybe working a SOC. Maybe you're doing the InfoSec side of things. Maybe you're a risk advisor or just management or team leader involved in those things. CTFs you can absolutely get involved in. So you see them at conferences, so such as B-Sides. You see them at other events. Sometimes vendors will put on at like InfoSec or SANS weeks. And there's seasonal ones as well. So with Easter coming up, there's ones called Hacky Easter. And there's things often like for like Christmas and events like that. So there are ones popping up all the time. So like I say, predominantly they're for having fun, for learning, competitions, and that's something else. We had a little video we wanted to sort of show earlier, but we'll probably tweet it. So if you, again, keep hold of awareness of Pwn Defend, we'll tweet a link to a video some guys called Live Over the Wire. No, Overflow, I think. It's a really good video. It talks about, it's a little demo of a massive CTF over in China. And I think the price for that was like $1 million yen. No, it was a lot of money.
It was big money. It was very e-sport.
Very e-sport.
I think that's one of the things that we want to try and help share with the world is what the fuck is a CTF? If you're not a player, it might not mean anything to you. Capture the Flag games are very much like a computerized version of the physical game where you used to go and literally take flags off people. rather than break into systems and steal sensitive data, we break into systems, steal sensitive flags, and then work out how to defend them as well. So it's really important to understand that I think most people think of CTFs and they think of, if you're going to be a pen tester, you can do CTFs. I'm trying to get rid of that myth, because when we look at the industry challenge we've got, we look at the level of technical debt, we look at the actual defence landscape, everyone in the organisation is part of the blue team. Even the red team are part of the blue team. So making sure that people understand what their technology decisions, what their technology configurations, what the implications to their business and the risks are is really important. And I think looking back over the years, we've done a really bad job of doing that, right? It's just, I need it now, I'm going to buy it, I'm going to give it to IT to look after it. We've deployed technology in a way which is incredibly insecure. It's really poorly managed. I'm not going to cite explicit use cases, but I think we've all seen in the news and through our working lives the impact that bad technology and bad security, procurement, implementation, design, configuration, the whole life cycle, what happens to organisations and to us as people when technology is deployed badly.
Yeah.
Massively trying to help people skill in an area that is complex, that is challenging, that I think is making people think differently about what they've got in front of them. So that really is, how can you use Capture the Flag games to improve education and awareness for people and have fun? Because they are awesome.
So the sort of takeaway from that really is it's a game, instead have fun, and you have to learn from it, and ultimately it's actually there for everyone. And Dan sort of touched a lot on this piece as well, really. Do you want to talk about a bit more about, just recap the skills issue?
Yeah, so one of the things that I see in the, more in the industry, but in the marketing sense, you will be told time and time again that we have a cyber skill shortage. And I kind of agree and disagree with that, because I spend a lot of my time online and in the community, and we have an absolute abundance of skills. What we don't have is an abundance of good, effective use of the skills. We have a problem with our hiring processes. We have a problem with expectations. This field is fucking huge. Try and pretend that you know any of it to a great level, and the more you go into it, the more you realise that you know less and less every day. Not only that, but like me, some of you probably know that the more you learn, the more you forget. So I will be sitting talking to people about stuff that I've done a video on YouTube or given a presentation on, and I can't remember the stuff that I've taught people. So it's a really, really varied and wide landscape. And this cyber skills shortage, I think, is being peddled in the wrong way, right? Because you see people calling it out, and it's usually related to a product or a solution selling perspective. Whereas actually I think we need to change the way we approach getting skills and how we enable people from a young age to leverage technology, to understand the privacy and security implications, and how we actually take them through that journey. And then not just in the cyber world, right? It's not everyone just hacking away in a hoodie, looking at cat memes. This is for everyone. Is it more important to have offensive cybersecurity capability inside most UK organisations, or is it more important to have integrators, architects, engineers and developers putting the systems in properly?
Yeah,
I'm going to say that it's more important to have the latter. But having offensive skills is great. It lets you demonstrate and test controls. But what we really need to do is be putting stuff in at the start, managing the life cycle, and not going to this usual point where we go, right, plan, great, get some money, usually not enough. Design, this is how I want it to be. This might be how it looks. Build, configure, all the usual spannering and engineering and fuck-ups and shit that go along the way. And then at the very end, just before you want to go live, we need to do a pen test. And that isn't abnormal. That is everywhere. And we need to change that. We need to make it so that the shift left to security goes way further left than to the developers. Absolutely. It needs to go to board level, it needs to go to program level, it needs to be financially understood by by businesses, because until their financial costs change and the budgets change, the work you do downstream is going to be affected heavily because your constraints are going to increase.
Absolutely.
So shifting left isn't left enough from my point of view. It needs to go right into the financial belly of a business. People need to understand what the risks are and then allocate the correct resources to get security and technology right.
Yeah, I completely agree. And security is too often an afterthought. It should be one of the very first things you start to do. You design something, bring security into it. And then the only way of doing that is something like a CTF. We want people to learn, they have fun, it's the best way. And we actually do strongly believe CTFs are kind of the way forward for a lot of training. And also bring the community together as well. If we're not having fun, then what's the point? So we absolutely think it's the best approach. And it kind of helps us sort of, when we hear people about hacking, CTFs, it's really important that we think, well, that's not a criminality thing. That's improving our skills. So it's preventing the criminality side of things. It's putting defences in place. And there's lots of guys out there at the moment that sort of do this. Do you want to talk about any of the guys?
They're
loads.
Common platforms you may have heard of. One of my favourite platforms is HackerBox. HackerBox is a great, like I said, when I was a kid, I would have loved this. Rather than hacking into Doom and having to circumvent parental controls, you can go and test your skills and learn new offensive techniques and defensive techniques in a controlled arena where you're not breaking the law.
Yeah.
It is a huge problem that we've got in the industry as well, where, not in the industry, or in society, the media have portrayed that hackers are criminals and they're used synonymously. When I get into a taxi and the taxi says, "What do you do?" I say, "Oh, I'm a security consultant." And they're like, "What does that mean?" I say, "I break into stuff sometimes." And then immediately I get asked if I can break into a bank for them. Which is crazy, right? I've just told them I'm a professional and I've got a career, and they immediately then ask me to break the law. But generally speaking, in the media, we see people describing hackers as criminals, and I think we need to change that, because the skills that we arm children with and the sort of moral alignment we give people throughout their life will help steer them in the direction where we can use these skills for good rather than bad.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's plenty of stuff. So we talked about Hack the Box. Maybe a lot of you are aware of the OSCP. That once you've actually learned to go through the PWK lab, there's a 24-hour exam with that, and that's within a lab environment. You've got to hack a bunch of systems. Hackisto mentioned. Over the Wire is another good one to think about. Things like RootMe, 24/7 CTF, CTF 365, CTF Time. So that's quite a good one to be aware of upcoming CTFs. And then we talked also about like SANS, holiday packs. And another one as well is sourcing.games, really introduction type stuff. And then obviously there's opponent defend activities that we do at events. Then there's also studying locations. So studying things like immersive labs. What else? We've got SANS, Quals, Crest.
Yeah, and I think this is we're talking about CTFs in the gaming sense a lot, right? I don't know about everyone else, but at school I didn't particularly love some of the subjects I was given, but I did love learning from computers. So I think Capture the Flag games are a great mechanism for taking some people who learn through action rather than through being taught to. If that makes sense. So I think it's a really good, multifaceted mechanism, not only to use internally in organisations, but also for education and also just for having fun. There are some CTF addicts out there already. Yes,
and I think I'd like to show a show of hands if possible. Who would say the reason why they've not been involved in CTFs or not really got heavily involved in it at all is they don't know how to get started? Or it's found it maybe a little bit too difficult. You've got the first question and just haven't got a clue. Okay, so quite a few people. Yeah, absolutely. Quite a few people. So
it's really tough, right? For some people to break into a system where they've got no idea of what that is. It could be a web browser or it could be a network-based system. Starting this stuff is really difficult. Yeah. And the barrier to entry on that in some areas is a challenge.
Absolutely. And in cyber defense, cyber security, it's a team sport. I say that all the time from an Intel perspective as well. And this should be as well. So there's lots of communities out there. So make sure you attend your B-sides, get to know people. We're all very different at different things. We can learn from one another. And there's also many communities out there that you can be involved in. So one of the ones we often go to is ZeroSec.
OSEC.
OSEC.
I play in the Many Hats Club CTF team when I can get time without actually doing real work. There's loads of ways that you can work together and get into the community with people. Everyone's really helpful. Like I said, the starting point of going from I can't break into a system to breaking into something is a bit like riding a bike. So to start with, it's quite a daunting task.
Yeah.
There are people who will help on that journey.
Cool. So this is the methodology. Do you mind talking through this bit for us, Dan?
Yeah. So I guess we've talked about what CTFs are. We've talked about some of the industry challenges. We've talked about the fact that getting in is quite difficult. One of the things I guess to realise is that when we look at a threat actor life cycle against the target, and then a CTF life cycle, they are slightly different, but they are very similar. There's quite a few things you don't have to do in a CTF that if you wanted to get in a real life scenario, either from a professional or from a criminal perspective, you would want to do slightly differently. The CTF approach doesn't exactly leave you into stealth mode. So, the first thing we need to do is reconnaissance. What you'll find is that in most CTF platforms and games and penetration testing and system analysis.
Oh, sorry. That's
right. Recon scanning's not that different. You'll need to reconnaissance your target. You'll need to understand who you're attacking. You'll need to understand the landscape of the target, and that could be some things considering like the IP addresses, the DNS names, the organisation, and the scope. In a CTF, a lot of that stuff from real life is condensed down into you need to attack that target. So recon from a CTF point of view is usually like, what flag am I going after and what level am I on? Once you know what you're doing, you'll generally have a target given to you, and then you'll need to do an enumeration. So you'll run a series of network scans. So you use tools such as Nmap. Everyone use Nmap in there?
Who's not used Nmap?
Yeah, who's not used Nmap?
It's okay to... Yeah?
He's lying.
Get out.
You'll use Nmap. You'll use tools like Nipto. You'll use tools like Burp Suite. You'll use vulnerability scanners like Rapid7, Nessus, and OpenVAS is the open source one you can use. And you will then start looking at a target and probing for weaknesses. This process is probably the most important, if not the most important, because if you don't do this, you don't know where to fire. But if you go on the internet and pop a honeypot, you can watch everyone spewing shit everywhere. So clearly a lot of people don't use this in a targeted manner. But it's really key to understand your target and to scan and gather as much data as possible. You might miss the key to the castle just by missing a single string or a word. So once we've identified the target attack surface, we then look to do some exploitation. So here, for example, I'll pick a service, but say Telnet was exposed, because this is topical, given how many Telnet passwords were leaked the other day. If Telnet was exposed, you need to then see what version of Telnet and whether you can grab that from a banner. So you talk with the service and you say, who are you? And it may, if you're lucky, say it's Telnet version X. You can then look up the Telnet version and see if there are any known vulnerabilities. For this example, I'm just going to say there aren't any. You're then going to say, right, okay, so what can I try next? I need to get in. It's asking you for a username and password. So then we could try attacks such as brute force, credential stuffing, credential spraying to try and get in from that layer. This is a rinse and repeat activity, and I think like the linear path doesn't do this justice. Because what usually happens is you start looking at something, you move down a position, you then realise you're banging your head against the brick wall and you zoom back out again. You then try and look at other avenues, and that's like an iterative cycle you go through. The head banging process is literally like that sometimes. It can make you feel quite depressed. Not as a holistic point, but when attacking a target.
And just to recap on that piece, so let's say you go and try a port and you try to compromise or push an exploit to that particular service. That might be patched, you just might not be aware of it. Then there'll be another one you try and go to, so you've got to try different ways.
Hopefully, if you're lucky, you will be able to run a successful exploit and you'll be able to then gain access to a target system either through direct contact or through a reverse shell. Once you have access to a system, you may have a varying level of user access from limited through to total system ownership. If you're in a limited position, you'll then look to escalate the privileges and get to a higher position where you've got more rights. From a CTF point of view, most CTFs have this linear phase. You get the privilege escalation, and then you get a flag, and then you're done. What they're missing out on is generally lateral movement. So because CTF platforms are constrained by the fact they're not generally built in massive networks, you often just go in, pop a box, and come out again. We're going to give a demo of me doing exactly that, I hope, if the exploit works. But once you're in, you grab your flags and you clean up. This is slightly different from the real world, because once you're into one system, it's unlikely you're going to have everything that you wanted to get from that target, and it'll be that from a non-criminal and from a criminal perspective. You will usually get in somewhere, and then you will need to look around for more systems. You will need to move through the network. Most people don't leave everything laying out for you, but not everyone. Some people love making life easy.
So while Dan gets that prepared, I think he's sort of captured all the salient points. I have sweets. I can give out sweets if people want sweets. Okay, so downstairs, if you've not come to the desk downstairs, Dan sat down there, and another gentleman, I've forgotten his name, he's part of Sky Betting, or he's helping the CTF. So
yeah, Glenn's from Sky Betting Group.
Yeah, so we've got stickers. So if you haven't got on your laptop, you need that to actually hack. And also, I think we might have some...
He's not lying.
No. We might actually have some swag downstairs as well.
Yeah, we've got a limited selection, right? So we've got a limited stock of water bottles, a few T-shirts, and stickers and sweets. Because who doesn't?
There's not many sweets left, actually, because I've been at them. But yeah, so just come down and say hello. Before we actually start to do this demo, while Dan gets all prepared, who's been on the CTF today? Okay, not even a third of the room. And that's cool. Who's got a laptop with them? Okay, the rest of you have to be on the CTF before the end of the day. So hopefully, Dan, you better run us through that.
Yeah, cool. So what I'm going to do now quickly, very quickly, because I can see time is pressing on, I'm going to demonstrate a exploitation of MS17010. Some of you may have seen this all before, but really this is to talk it through from a enumeration and mindset point of view. So I'm using Hack the Box for this, mainly because the fact that... It does say I'm root already. That's how good I am. I just look at the box and I owned it. We're going to do this on the Hack the Box platform. I've already connected to the VPN. I already know the target I'm going for, and I'm hoping that the box still exploits unless I run a reset. So the target we've got is an IP address. It's 10.10.10.40. I'm going to make typos. Hey, look at that. This is on a 4G connection, so God knows if this will work. Right, so we can see the target responds to ICMP. That's good. If you attack a Windows 10 box, for example, it will probably tell you that won't work, right, as in it won't respond. What I'm going to run is a quick Nmap scan using the top common ports. Again, if I was attacking a real target, I wouldn't just run Nmap and the IP address. I would pick my scan type, I would pick my timings, I would put verbosity on, I would put an output file format, I'd do all kinds of switches. I will do that on another demo on YouTube another day.
And if you've not used Nmap, when you go home tonight, it's lots of people, you got your phone on there, you've got your laptop on your home Wi-Fi. Just run that against the other device. See what you get. So, we've just run a quick scan. It's the top 1,000 ports. That is not the top 0 to 1,000. It is the top 1,000 common ports. I can't name them all. But included in that is RPC, NetBIOS, and SIS, or SMB or Samba, depending on what system you're using, which is TCP 445. This is what the MS17010 vulnerability refers to. This is what Eternal Blue, the exploit, leverages. So we can see we've done a little bit of scanning. I'm going to run a version scan just because that's going to pop a little bit more information up. While that happens, and because time is ticking,
And I hate changing interfaces while I'm doing the demo. Right, cool. I'm really used to using 2019.4 Kali, honest.
So because time's sort of running short as well, I just want to run through quickly on the CTF that's running today. Get your laptop, and you don't have to obviously be on any special Wi-Fi here. And you go to ctf.bsidesleadsctf.com. So apologies about the domain name.
Glad made that up.
So go to that, and it's go to that, and it's quite a simple registration process. Register your account, and then you get a picture of a world map. And there's different countries, and they're basically different CTFs. Go for the ones with the lower numbers, like at 5 points or 10 points, and give that a go. If we get a chance, we'll quickly try and show one, but I think we're struggling with the time now. If you give it a go, and if you struggle, come down and see Dan and the other guys at the table downstairs.
So normally I'd have done a little bit more enumeration, but I'm going to skip that. This may or may not work, right? So we're going to use the Eternal Blue exploit. We're going to check our options in Metasploit. This lets you configure various different pieces, like what the target you're going for, what type of handlers you're going to use, what ports it operates on. I'm going to try and do this without too many typos. So we're going to target the IP address that we just said. Because this is supposedly easy peasy and should exploit fine, we're going to execute that. And then we're going to pray to the demo gods.
Did you mean NOPS?
That we get a shell back. This is always a tense moment. It's a bit like when you reboot a PC or a server and then you have to hold your breath until it comes back online, especially when you're remote with no DRAC access. So awesome. We've got a win on that. And shortly, you can see that we have a C Windows System 32. We are no longer in Penguin Land. We are now in the land of Windows. So that's a really good. Like this is obviously like the easiest script kiddie. You can fire this exploit at something. That's a really quick way of showing that we went through, we enumerated, we found that there's an open port, we found the service is vulnerable. At least if I went back and looked at the scan results, we would. And then we attempted the target attack. Right. In real life, that could have caused the blue screen. So you've got to be careful how you throw this stuff around on networks. Please don't do it on your live production environment. Do it in labs or CTF platforms. But hopefully that gives you an example of the sort of process you'd go through. We tend not to build, when we build a CTF, I tend not to build too many like fire and forget exploits into them. Most of the things I find they're in real life are security misconfigurations. So I try and build systems to attack that are similar to what I find in real life. So yeah.
Sorry, it's possibly a stupid question. I mean, you popped the box. Which bit of that was the flag? What am I reporting? Where, how?
Oh, right, okay. So in the Hack the Box, there is...
Is there some sort of just clever thing that says congratulations? You've got
No, in here there should be... And I'm trying to remember where it is now.
JR.
Flags, right, cool. No, great question. This is the problem. When you get root, you get adrenaline. You're like, this is amazing, I've done everything. It's not true. You have to then carry on going. So the flags will be in different places on different CTF platforms.
They typically have this sort of format, right?
Yes, typically people tend to use GUIDs inside of
double curly brackets, I feel they're called. And you get double curly brackets.
Don't get me wrong. Every CTF designer and builder does things differently. Different platforms have different standards. I do things in a slightly different way to others. Sometimes flag input can be a real fun experience.
Sometimes it's flag, colon, and then the passphrase, the password or pass. And often they do explain it. It's a good question.
So what I'm really to the whole point of this is A, to explain that CTFs can be used outside of the pen testing industry. B, to explain that, as you can see, that even with my fumbling hands in front of an audience, I can still manage to exploit the box. But really this is about ensuring that we defend our businesses, we defend our people, our families, and our technology. And you can use offensive security as a mechanism to do that. you can use capture the flags to improve awareness and understanding throughout your businesses and organisations. It doesn't all have to be pew-pews. It can be defensive. We've put some stuff in today's CTF, which is blue team based. It's some log analysis. It's checking whether or not you can read the logs or whether I can actually put the right log files on the system. But really, this is all about increasing defence. There's a very minority percentage of the world who are using cyber defence legally, and that's mainly restricted to government work, right? So most red teaming is actually blue teaming, is my message there.
Cool. So that's kind of like, we're out of time, unfortunately. We'd like to show you a little bit more, but thank you very much, Dan. That was awesome. Thank you for the demo. Thank you all as well for taking the time. If you do have any questions, come and find the guys, and ultimately, hack the planet. Enjoy it, have fun.